connecting to the server. There we go. We're all good. So great to see you. I know that there's some of you who were able to make our session last week and some of you who have caught the replay and are tuning in for today's co-writing session. I have a few people whose stories I've reviewed and they're not here. So let me just make sure that they're coming so that I can just give me 1 sec, Lenore. Anyway, if they come, they come. If not, they can have the replay. So how's everyone doing? Real good? Yeah, cool. I trust that last week's workshop is settling nicely. I know it was a big one. Had lots of people catching the replay as well. Nicole says, can't hear yet. Getting on through my phone has forgot headphones. Okay, see how you go. So basically what I'm going to do today, I'm going to start off. I have a few pieces of storytelling pieces that I want to review for people. My intention is that this is going to be a good learning opportunity for everyone. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have opportunity for Q&A, and then we'll do some live co-writing. Okay. So I have a feeling I know where people kind of need the support the most. My sense from reading people's stories and from chatting to people in the DMs is that the most important, like the biggest area that people seem to struggle with are the hooks. Would you agree with that yourself? Or is there another element of storytelling, story selling that you are struggling with? Feel free to unmute. We can just have a brief back and forth. That's what a lot of people in the comments were saying. Yeah,
I'm pretty good with the hooks.
Yep.
And like the titles, and then mine's probably more the conversion piece, actually.
Conversion, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. So like naturally transitioning from piece of storytelling into the offer. Would anyone else agree with that? I see Rosie and Naomi, Camilla. Yep, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah, for me the hooks as well, like it's easy to get the hooks, but for me the challenge is actually to put myself in the shoes of, like, like to create this scenario, like, show don't tell, like. But I found out that ChatGPT, I'm training ChatGPT to do that. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. And I think it does a brilliant job, better than
it actually does. Yeah. So I've created a whole custom GPT that I use with my clients. Camilla, and Rosie, I've done a bit of back and forth with your pieces of content through this GPT. And so these days it's if you've got the frameworks and you know how to train it well, it does a brilliant job. It really does. But what I would just hesitate with anything AI is make sure that it has your story written by you to start with. Otherwise, it reads like AI, basically. And people have a really strong sense with it now, even with some formatting, like the formatting that I like to do with AI. Like if I look at someone's post and there's certain things with like the M dashes and certain words and certain phrasing, I'm like, they've just copied and pasted it straight away. Now, look, that's fine. It just depends on how, picky you want to be. These days, I'm pretty picky and I want to make sure that it looks and reads like, potentially I've used AI to help me tighten it up, to help me strengthen the conversion, to help me like come up with a really great hook, but it's my words. It's really important that we do that. Otherwise it just kind of reeks of AI.
So sometimes changes my words. I'm just like, keep my words.
Yes.
Like, I always change, like it never feels right, or editing, or thing.
Yeah.
He changed that. I didn't want him to change it.
Yeah. It takes time. It really takes time. And I know, Camilla, you were like, you should do a whole course on training ChatGPT. I've done so much with mine that it's like it has a really great quality and texture, but it's taken a long time to get it to that point. Okay, so let's go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a doc that I have here. I wonder if Mary is going to come. She tried to call me before. I'm going to start with her feedback. Anyway, she can catch the replay. All right. So let me share my screen. Oh, there's Mary right there. Great. Awesome. She's got burning ears. I'll just wait for her to join. Mary, welcome. Good timing, because we're going to start with you. Can you hear me okay, love? I presume she can.
I can, hun, but I've just come. I'm not going to turn my video on yet because I'm still getting dressed. I've just come in.
Totally fine. All good. I literally just
keep
said,
going.
I hope Mary joins us because I'm starting with her and then you join. So yay, you've got good ears. Hello. All right, feel free to turn off your camera. That's totally fine. I'm going to share my screen and let's go. So basically, Mary, I don't know if you saw my post, my comment to you. But
Yes, I did.
I watched your video and I read your post and I was like, Mary, you know what? You've got me converted for the mung bean cleanse. I'm in. So straight off the bat, I want to say, well done. Like you've got a really, really good framework and foundation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly go through Mary's post. But what really got me was your video, and I'm going to peel into that a little bit as we go. Okay, so it's mung bean cleanse time. I'm excited to host another 10-day challenge. My body is crying out for it. Truth be told, the move north took its toll. I'm not as young as I once was, as I was last time I took this leap, and all the lifting, pushing, pulling has left me with some aches and pains, little pockets of inflammaging making themselves known, including a right knee that doesn't like sitting cross-legged at the moment. From past experience, the best way to be comfortable in my body again is to give it a mung bean cleanse. It works every time. We kick off Sunday, April 6th. I have timed it deliberately with the ending of daylight savings to take advantage of the sweet spot when we feel we have some extra time in the morning to create some better habits. The challenge is fully supported, yada, yada. During the cleanse, we connect via Zoom. This is a highlight of the challenge and can make all the difference. If you've done the challenge before, 50% off, yada, yada. Okay, great. So particularly what got me with this post, Mary, it wasn't the copy here. Okay, so I'll just straight off the bat say we can definitely tighten this up. What got me was the video and the analogies that you used. Okay, so I've got some feedback here. So firstly, what we want to do is there's great elements of storytelling that we can create here. We want to bring the reader or the listener, AKA your soulmate client, into the story rather than keeping it too theoretical. And I think Camilla, you might have said something about that as well in a comment in DMs. So right now you're using great metaphors, but the reader might still be feeling like a passive observer. So how can you invite them into the experience personally? So ladies, I hope that you can listen to this feedback here and apply it to your stories, to your content, etc. So instead of, and this is taken from the copy from your video, there are so many chemicals we ingest throughout our environment, stress and food combinations that don't work for us. Try. Ever feel sluggish, bloated, or just a little off, even when you're eating healthy? That's the hidden residue of, I couldn't catch the word, is it AMA?
AMA, AMA.
AMA. That's the hidden residue of AMA building up, slowing you down, silently working against your body. But what if you could give your system the reset it's been craving? So this is a great example here of show, don't tell, right?
Okay.
And did you watch the replay from last week? I'm pretty sure you did.
I've watched half of it, honey, but
Great.
I just haven't had a chance. So yeah, but I will finish it.
That's great. The second half is more Q&A.
Okay.
So this is where we have a top level statement, right? So many chemicals we ingest and it has an impact on us. It makes us feel like shit, right? So that's a top level statement. What we need to try, what we can experiment with is kind of bringing it down into 3D reality. So is there a scene or a moment in time that we can drop the reader into that has them feel like they're actually immersed in an experience? It's sensory storytelling, right?
Mm.
So even this here is mid-level. It's not really ground level. And I've got some other examples down here as well, okay? So bringing the reader's lived experience into the story helps them feel the urgency of change, right? So where in your copy, ladies, are you giving statements or even aha moments, but you're telling them the aha moment rather than guiding them to have the aha moment themselves? It's kind of when you're reading a really great piece of content and you have a big aha moment yourself, you're like, whoa, I never thought about it like that. It's often not from someone just telling you that. It's kind of like when we're in coaching, when we're coaching a client, it's so much more powerful to guide the client to the aha moment themselves rather than just be like, here's what I see. Okay. We want to really try and explore that with our copy as well, with our storytelling as well. So one of the strongest points you mentioned is that Ayurveda recommends a cleanse twice a year. But instead of just stating that fact, can we bring it into life with a micro story? Okay. So we don't necessarily need to have a whole piece of story selling content that's like story from the whole get-go all the way through to the conclusion, but we can also experiment with micro stories as well, right?
Yeah.
So in Ayurveda, cleaning isn't just a nice to have, it's essential, like the seasons shifting. Imagine your body like a home. Twice a year, you open the windows, shake out the dust, give it a deep clean. That's exactly what we're doing here. But instead of scrubbing floors, we're clearing out years of built up toxins that could be the root of fatigue, inflammation, and disease. So that's using your metaphor that you've already spoken into, but just kind of like really, it's activating the imagination, it's activating the senses for the reader. And I do think that that metaphor is gold for you. Do you use that a lot with the promotion of this cleanse? I know you run it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you find that it's a good, from like a conversion perspective, it converts pretty well? This metaphor that you use of like imagining the body as a home and cleaning out the built up armor.
Yes, it's something people can relate to. And we often think, oh, well, we eat healthy, but we also, clean our house regularly.
Yes.
But there comes a point that we stop, even when we've done a weekly clean, and go, everything needs a really good going over now.
Yeah, totally.
Same thing.
So this is the power of having a defining metaphor, ladies, a defining metaphor, right? So if you've got aspects of your business, of your transformational work, of your coaching, of your, your frameworks that you take people through, if you've got things that you teach into that you feel like people, it's like it's still a bit intellectualized, you want to really be able to drop them into the embodied experience of what it is that you're saying, of what it is that you're teaching, of what it is that you're guiding them through. This is where a defining metaphor has such an impact on how people really get the work, right? Like Mary, she could say it's important to cleanse the body twice a year. It's important to cleanse the body, right? But instead, she's using this metaphor of the house. Imagine that your body is like a house, and we can relate it back to something that they can like hook into. Their brain goes like, oh, I get that. Okay, of course. Well, that makes sense. Of course, I should clean my body like I clean my house.
One of the things I often include with that, and I've done a lot of posts in different places, and I write each one, they've got the same thing, but they are all slightly different. It's just that your body is your home. If you don't look after it, where are you going to live?
Yeah, exactly. Where are you going to live? Exactly. Yep. I mean, the other metaphor that comes to mind, it might be a bit overdone, but it's like the same thing with our cars. Twice a year we spend thousands of dollars getting our cars done. What's the word? Like fixed, not fixed. What's the word I'm looking for?
Serviced.
It's time to give your body a servicing as well. Like let's work with the different aspects of what people are all like. With getting your car serviced once or twice a year, doing a spring clean once or twice a year, it's like, it's just the education piece has already landed, right? Like people have already been, it's not like hypnotized, but it's like indoctrinated into the fact that this is an important thing to do. And that word indoctrination, it does have a bit of a negative kind of connotation. But ultimately, when it comes to our universe, our body of work, the work that we do with our clients, the magic that happens inside of like what happens when you come into my field, there is an element of indoctrination that we need to do for our people, right? Whether they are a client or not. It's like, this is the set of values and beliefs that I've built my transformational work around. In order for you to see my work as being really important enough to invest your money and your time and your belief and your commitment in, there's like micro agreements or micro aha moments that they need to have. And so they're like, oh, I should do Mary's mung bean cleanse. That's definitely something that I'm gonna dedicate my time and my money and my energy to, right?
And look, I use this cleanse. It's not a money-making venture, as you can see from what I charge for it.
Yeah.
What do you charge for it? Sorry?
What do you charge for it?
The half price, if people have done it before, is $54 and $108.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. But it's like an easy yes for people.
It's an easy yes, but it is to get people to start thinking about doing a cleanse.
Totally.
It's
Totally.
totally about that. And then if they like working with me, then they might be interested in some of my retreats, because I do a 6-day full-on cleanse at Stroud Monastery, the master cleanse, I call that. So that's done in the
Cleanse, I like
spring.
that.
So
yeah. And what sort of conversion percentage do you think you might have from people who Mung bean?
yeah, look, a reasonable one. I've got a reasonable following, so people generally do both.
Great.
But yeah.
Yeah. So this is a great example, ladies, of having an easy yes. Who was in Simplify to Amplify? You were, Camilla. Was anyone else in S2A? No. Rosie, there'll be a few people catching the replay as well. Remember we spoke about easy yeses, having easy opportunities for people to be like, oh, that sounds good. I'm going to opt into that. It's a part of your ecosystem. It moves people. This is an easy yes, this workshop, right? You guys investing in this, it's an easy yes. But as you come into my world, I'll use myself as an example. You listen to the way that I like to coach, the frameworks that I like to use, the aha moments that you might like to have. And it moves people along that conversion pipeline of like, oh, I've already invested a little bit of money, a little bit of time, a little bit of energy. I'm having aha moments. I can see how working with Mary, going to Mary's retreats is going to be beneficial for me. So basically, having a think, ladies, about what are the defining metaphors that you can start to have a play with that can help people really get the concepts that you talk about in your business? And then secondly, ensuring that the copy and the offers that you're working with, that you're playing with, are moving people through a pipeline where they are being indoctrinated into your worldview, into like the values, the value system, the frameworks that you operate inside of. Is that clear? Just want to kind of make sure that this is landing and that it's a good teaching opportunity. Okay. So we can definitely strengthen the hook here, Mary.
Yeah.
The reset your body is begging for, and why mung beans are the key. Something you could have a play with. Feeling sluggish or bloated, here's a 10-day solution. The simple 10-day ritual, this simple 10-day ritual could be the best thing you do for your health this year. So with hooks, what we want to remember is that we want to create an opening in the loops in people's brains. Okay.
Yep.
So it's like, it's either a statement that really goes against the grain, or that is like an inversion, a moral inversion, or a radical reframe based off what people think is the norm. So something that has people go, what did she say? We want to create a curiosity gap where we're making a statement that has people automatically lean in to want to know more. So we want to think about what statements, what hooks can we start to play with that creates that open loop? Because what the open loop does is it means that people are going to stop the scroll, they're going to invest their time and their attention on your offer and on your post. And you can have the most incredible piece of storytelling, but if it doesn't have a really good hook, a really good opener, it doesn't get seen, or it will get read by people who already have their reticular activating system in their brain wired to see you as an important priority to spend their attention on. Okay. Yep. So the more you're captivating attention, and I know it sucks, but it's social media. Attention is the main currency, right? So the more we're captivating and really magnetizing attention, the more someone reads your stuff or listens to your stuff and goes, oh, wow, there's been a few posts that I've read of Jen's, of Mary's, of Naomi's that have really made me stop and think. I'm going to prioritize reading her stuff again or listening to her stuff again. So we can definitely amplify the emotional and identity expansion piece. Remember, we spoke about amplifying the identity. So instead of, you'll get all the materials you need, recipes, shopping lists, and a support call before we start. Imagine waking up clear-headed, lighter, more energized than you have in months. So what we're doing here is sensory storytelling here. Knowing your body is working with you, not against you. This is exactly what's possible with the mung bean cleanse. And I've made sure you have everything you need to make it as effortless as possible. So you could explore things like that, where you're really touching on the senses and really dropping them into that current reality of what it's going to be like after they do the cleanse, not the current reality, the future reality. Okay. Storytelling challenge. So have a look at some more hooks to refine. Identity expansion, bring the reader into the transformation. Can you describe the before and after in a way that makes it feel possible, that feels tangible? And you can also have a play with some micro stories as well. So here's a few examples. Your personal experience. I'll give this to you afterwards, Mary.
Thanks, Ellen. What about testimony, like feedback from past cleansers? Because I've got a lot of those.
Absolutely. So, but what you want to do with feedback testimonials is you want to actually, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. You want to, like, you could just share the feedback, the testimonial, or what you could do is actually create a micro story around it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So this is an example of just one. You may or may not have someone that you could relate this to, the skeptical to sold story. Yeah. So instead of like Sarah's testimonials, like, I didn't think that I would enjoy this, but I did it and it was amazing. Thank you, Mary. Right? Sarah messaged me the night before the cleanse saying, I don't know if I can do this. I love my morning coffee and my toast too much, but she decided to commit just for 10 days. By day 5, she wasn't even thinking about coffee. By the end, she was waking up with more energy than she had in years. Her digestion was smoother and she felt lighter in every way. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you can really explore using micro stories from testimonials. Okay. You could also drop the reader into, like, if there's a client who's had a really big aha moment throughout the cleanse, or like a really big shift or something that they're like mind blown. Wow, I never knew that was possible, or I never thought about it like that way. You could drop the reader into the middle of that aha moment as well and expand the story around it. Okay. So
the client that said to me that she feels like the cleanse cleans the sludge that's in the pipes.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a great aha moment. Yep. Yeah. You could drop the reader directly into that moment in time and then kind of expand it up around them to give them the sensory experience of what it's like. Yeah. Does that land?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Okay. Cool. The why this works story. So this is working with your example, your metaphor here. Which I just think that you can really explore that even deeper, that metaphor. I think it's a really good one, really well done. The urgency story, why now? So this could be a good one as well. Your body's always giving you signals: fatigue, bloating, brain fog, random aches and pains. These aren't just getting older. They're signs your body is calling for a reset. Every day you wait, toxins keep building. This is why I cleanse twice a year, because if we don't take action now, these signs don't just disappear. They accumulate into diagnoses, right? You could actually continue that from there. Yeah. Okay. How does that feel? Do you have any questions about what we spoke about?
No, that's wonderful, honey. Thank you.
Awesome. Are you clear on where?
Yeah, I think so. I've got a lot of material, and that's my downfall. I start looking at how I can build it all in, but no, I'll go back and pull out some testimonials and people's actual words in testimonials as well.
And Mary, do you use ChatGPT to help you organize all of your content, all of your stuff?
No.
Okay. Are you particularly not like, are you against the idea of using it, or are you?
Is that AI?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I do get it.
It's not my thing, honey. Yeah. I'd rather, but
you're analog.
Yeah,
I will say it is really good for things like, help me organize this, help me structure this testimonial into a piece of storytelling using this framework, right? Like it is good when you know how to work with it, but if it's just going to add more stress, then don't.
What's it called?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Yeah, I can send you a link if you want to have a play around with it.
Thanks, darling.
It's pretty epic with regard to what it can help you with. But we don't want to rely on it. That's what I always do.
No.
Okay. Now, I don't think Lenore is here. Okay. So Lenore had a piece of storytelling that she'd done so Lenore, catching the replay, timestamp 10:30. Okay. So it was 2018. I'd looked like I had it all: 2 delicious children, a relationship, a good career and family, but my daily existence was painful, and inside I felt like I was slowly dying. I was anxious nearly all the time, feeling trapped and controlled, unable to fully let go and enjoy the things I did have. 16 years on, and the twin flame awakening still had me spinning. I was stuck. I was a mess and in reactive mode. I recall feeling like I was barely existing, feeling suffocated, powerless, and anxious, yada, yada. Desperate to manifest more joy back into my life, I was guided by a higher power, the same energy that had visited me previously when I was unable to make decisions. I found my group for the next 2 years. Weekly quantum healing meditation became my panacea. The first massive shift on my twin flame awakening had been created. I was being shown how to remember my soul's blueprint and tap into my wisdom. I was waking up again. I began listening to my guidance, making difficult decisions, taking difficult action, transmuting, alchemizing. I became sovereign, trusting myself. My twin flame path was reopening, no longer stuck in temptress mode. I have been guided to extend that wisdom to you. I invite you to work with me so I can support and guide you while I unleash you into the 5D realm to continue your own twin flame ascension journey or soul alignment path. Okay, so I've got some feedback, but one thing, this is a really good example, Lenore, as you're catching the replay, of a conversion that feels a bit abrupt. Does anyone else agree as they're reading that? It kind of feels like you've gone from story, sell. And when we don't have an anchoring or a linking paragraph, rather, that really, so this is an example of, we want to understand the core theme, the moral of the story. So what's the purpose of me sharing this story? This is something that everyone needs to ask when they're writing a piece of storytelling, right? What's the purpose? What's the moral? What do I want my reader or my listener to get as a result of hearing this story? When we have that really clearly identified, then the conversion piece, AKA shifting from story through to, I'm now shifting into selling, into, and not even selling, into like inviting, if that's the energy that you'd prefer to anchor in. I'm inviting people into taking a next step. The moral of the story needs to be the thing that links the story to the offer. So if I'm looking here, I would love to ask you, Lenore, I wish you were on the call, but that's okay. You can let me know in PM. What is the moral here? Is it that you could even take one of these outcomes here and make it into the moral. So rather than having like 5 or 6 or 10 different things that you're speaking into, a piece of storytelling is always going to be so much more effective when you have one thing, right? So I would actually take one of these. Like, is it listening to my inner guidance? Is it taking the difficult action? Like actually, doing the thing that scares me? Is it learning how to alchemize and transmute the energy and the emotion? Take one of them and then build a story around that. And that's actually going to make it much easier for you to link it to the offer or to the invitation, right? Because then you can be like, in my twin flame program, I support you. I actively support you with tools that teach you how to listen to your inner guidance. I bring your intuition on. I co-create let me have a think. I support you in bringing your intuition online so that you can insert tangible outcome here, right? So having one moral, the story is spotlighting one aspect of the moral. The moral is the golden thread that links to the invitation. Is that clear for everyone? Are we getting that? One of the biggest things that I see with content, where most people it's kind of like spill over energetically, is they speak to like 5 or 6 different, or even sometimes 10 or 20 different points in one piece of storytelling or one piece of content. Your content is going to be so much more effective if you can hyper focus on one thing, on one aha moment, on one outcome, on one tangible benefit of one specific, right? So I'll give you an example. I wrote a post the other day. It was for my one-on-one private 6-month mentorship. And I wrote it and I was speaking into all of these different things that happen for my client that I helped them with, or the fears. There was one that was the more money you make, the more your expenses rise. You hold yourself back because you're afraid of discovering Reddit threads about you, taking you down. So you make yourself more palatable. There was 5 or 6 different points like that. And when I reread it, I was like, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to hyper dive. And I picked the piece about the Reddit, the fear of being, the fear of visibility, of like, if I get too big, people are going to tear me down. It happens quite a lot in the online space. You see it, right? You see people getting teared down by other people who are usually really jealous. And that fear is actively holding you back from being bold and being big and being authentically you and being visible, right? So instead of having a bunch of different outcomes that I speak into, things that I support my clients with, I chose one and I hyper dived. And it facilitated it led to a sales call for me, which led to a client. So just have a think about that. Go through the content that you've already written and have a look at where am I kind of casting the net too wide and how can I bring it in? Less is more when it comes to storytelling. So we'll quickly go through this. Lenore, we can definitely sharpen the opening statement here. Instead of 16 years on and the twin flame awakening still had me spinning, you could try, here's some examples. What if the one person who was meant to complete you was actually your biggest mirror for pain? You could try, I thought I'd found my twin flame. Instead, I found my deepest shadows waiting for me. I did everything right. So why did my twin flame journey leave me feeling more lost than ever? Okay, so these are designed to challenge the narratives, right? So for example, this challenges the belief that following spiritual practices guarantees immediate results and invites curiosity about the real lessons behind the twin flame journey. Your twin flame isn't here to complete you. They're here to trigger the deepest healing of your life. Radical reframe shifts the reader's perspective and makes them rethink the purpose of their twin flame connection. So go through and have a read, Lenore. Anything else? I thought the pain would end once we were together. I was wrong, right? So this is really playing on the reality versus the expectation, which is also another really good one. And I'm going to leave it there, lovely. What I would love for you to do is to rewrite one of these posts using the golden thread framework that I mentioned last week. Create 3 new hooks and refine the call to action. Okay, so I'm going to add in here the moral. Pick one outcome and create a whole story around that, and then link that moral tangibly to the offer, to the invitation. Okay. All right.
Can I just share something on that, Tash?
Great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Reading that, like I love this stuff, and like probably most of us on the call understand the wording of this. But if she's trying to invite in new people, is there space to really educate people on what twin flame actually means? Because there's a lot of people that have a lot of different reference point for what twin flame actually means, and even 5D.
Totally.
So like I've got a post that's sort of undergoing at the moment, like what self-mastery is and what self-mastery isn't.
Yeah.
Because what Tantra is, what Tantra isn't.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people out there, even though we all speak a similar language, if she can speak into, there's this perception that twin flame is just your other half of your soul. And some people say it's this. So I think to really bring new people into the space through education would be really supportive for Lenore.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's really great feedback, Jen. What we're talking about here is really like thought leadership / disruptive content, right? So it's like really disrupting a common viewpoint or a common narrative that you see people believing or buying into or talking about inside the world that you teach in, right? And that's ultimately, these kinds of posts are designed to kind of shock people into thinking about things in another way, in a different way. It kind of like stretches the perception of what it kind of has the perception go from here to here. And it's actually brilliant for bringing aha moments in, right? Like you might think this, but in actual fact, let's think about it like this. Important to remember for these kinds of posts is that any thought leadership / disruptive posts is going to naturally attract a lot of attention, a lot of positive, but often a lot of negative attention as well. I have a client who's been dealing with this quite significantly. She talks into the neurodivergent space. She has a very strong belief that neurodivergent people are more spiritually wired for larger levels of spiritual comprehension. She posted something about that on Threads, I think, and it went completely viral with people tearing her to shreds, completely and utterly tearing her down about this belief that it didn't buy into the mainstream narrative. So we just have to be prepared for that. You know, we have to be prepared if we're going to put stuff out there that's going to challenge the status quo, that's going to challenge the tried and true belief systems. Be prepared for it to come back in a way that's, you know, that can be strong. Has anyone experienced that? I'm going to take it off here. Has anyone actually experienced that?
I'm
Nope.
terrified, so probably I just keep myself small to not get to that point.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it happens, you know. It happens, and we have to like anchor our roots really deep to be able to withstand it, right? Ultimately, if people are going to be throwing their shit at you, we want to, like, as much as we can, retract our hooks for them to hang their shit all over, you know, water off a duck's back as much as we can. Okay, so let's open up for some questions. Who wants to jump in? What's landing for you as we're listening to some feedback here? Anyone have anything that they want to pop in with? Any insights or questions or?
I'll jump in. I was actually using ChatGPT before just to really define my defining metaphor, and then I'm like, I already use it anyway. Like, why am I? So I was like, okay, how do I just rejig the wording? So, it's basically your mind is your garden. You're either watering the flowers or pulling the weeds. The choice is yours and how you tend to it.
Yes.
Because I use a sort of like a garden and nature theme in the marketing of my business anyway. So that landed really, really well for that.
Okay.
And I think I'm at a point, I don't know if anyone else is like this, where there's almost like there's an abundance of what you do and there's an abundance of options which sort of thread to go with. And it's like, which one is it going to be kind of thing. So I think for me, it's about actually going, and as a manifesting generator, it's all of the things.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like going, okay, we'll just pick what to work with and what's the most potent and powerful and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's coming up as you're saying that? What are you noticing? What are you feeling drawn to? Where's your sacral excitement drawing you?
So what's happening first and foremost is it's too much. I don't want to look at it because there's so much of it. It's not sort of one particular thing. I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was basically like your multi-dimensional business is you know, what's choking you kind of thing. And I resonated with that because even though I can like hold a lot of pieces to it, that it's not like one thing gets my full attention. And so I'm kind of like, well, where do I want to put, you know, most of my eggs in that basket and what is the messaging around that? And that's still been, I guess, shifting, as you mentioned, I think in the first call, that when you're elevating and your message is elevating and your clients are elevating with you, what I found through that call last week on the replay, Tash, is that I don't know of the people at that level. So I'm still trying to bring the ones that were there up, but they're also not. And then I work with, and I'm like, I feel like I'm banging my head against a fucking wall.
It happens. It happens. So this is a real, have you got examples of people who, if you even, whether they're clients or not, who, when you think about them, you're like, I would love to work with someone like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to speak to them, right?
Yes, that's what I've been thinking of. Like, I'm like, they are there, but I also know that I've had like quite, you know, I've had success in these other areas.
Yes.
And like, I don't want to play there anymore, but that is safe because there's people there and I know that they can hear me. And I'm thinking like, if I'm going here, am I a frequency that people can hear? And so there's a jump within myself to speak at a frequency that I'm like, I've got one of those like echoey things. I'm like, hello, is anybody here? Like, where do they come from there? Because I know that I can be like, guys, I'm your leader here, but that's not where I want to play anymore.
Totally. And in fact, it's one of the most like challenging places to be when we're in the middle of a pivot, but the pivot hasn't actually like fully landed. And we know that we want things to up level and to change, but it's kind of like we're walking around blindfolded and we just get a little nugget of intuition at a time. Yeah.
It's like Pivot from Friends when they're trying to get the couch up the staircase and they're like pivot, and they're like trying to re-angle it and then it just falls down and it's like fuck it, we can't get it up anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
It's like
So I
that.
would
And that's why like
Sorry, darling.
sorry.
So
I was gonna say that's why I said to you a while ago, I said, oh, I was gonna work with you again. I'm like, it hasn't landed for me yet.
Yeah.
That's probably why we need to do some more one-on-one. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, all good. I hate it when there's a bit of a delay and people are just like, I'm like, the energy feels so like I'm stepping over you. I don't mean to do that. What I would experiment with here is like, I would do a post talking about the pivot, basically. Talking about how the scope of your work is changing. You're being initiated into a higher level of work, into a deeper level of transformation, into working with people in a completely new level, in a completely new way. And it's still not landing. It's still murky. It's really uncomfortable, but I would just the classic inform before taking action, right? Classic manifesting generator strategy. You need to inform your people so that it's like manifesting generators move so fast. And often people are left going, wait, what? She was there and now she's fucking there. Like, hang on a minute. So, and this is manifestors as well, Rosie. I see you nodding your head. The same strategy goes for a manifestor. So inform your people, let them know, it's not about like bringing them up to speed. It's just about saying like, this is where I'm at. And I feel like that's actually going to settle your system a bit more for you, like to give you a bit of a launch pad to launch off. Does that resonate?
Yeah, and that's so true. You're so bang on because I've even had people say, are you still coaching? Like, is that what you still do? And so like I've been so quiet on social media because I'm like in the pivot, the couch is halfway up trying to turn around the staircase. And I'm like, I should post something to keep let people know I'm still here, but I'm still like,
Yeah. So you could do like, here's what's happening at Jen Hamilton HQ. Just bringing everyone up to speed. I've had people in my inbox going, where are you? What's happening? Like, what's going on? I feel something like you could really play with it that way. That's what I would do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But when we're in that middle place, right? Sometimes the most difficult place to be is between a decision, in that space of indecision, because we're like half pulled this way and half pulled that way. So where can I just make the fucking decision and like jump full body with both feet into one or the other? And that's really settling for the nervous system because it's kind of like, it doesn't know, it's really hard to find orientation when it's very disorienting to be in that state of indecision. So bring yourself to a decision, come into completion there, make the post, and then I feel you're going to have a foundation to really launch from. Really powerful.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you.
Into that high level person and exactly where they're at. So this is why with storytelling, if you can think of your client as like one person, like one person that you can specifically see in your mind, whether it's an actual person that you want to think about with any content, makes it so much easier because then you're speaking exactly to that person and no one else. People like that are listening then. You're cutting through the noise. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Does anybody else have? Yes, Camilla. Hello.
I'm afraid of how much I have to say. Trying to condense everything. I can see totally on Jen's story there. Like, anyway, like we're working through this, Tash.
Yeah.
I was so scared of sharing my first post after a whole year, but like I was so scared of just like I had a pause, it's like what does it even mean? But even like listening to Jen's story, I'm just like I want to write now after writing about it's not a pause, and a lot of people, saw it. I was like, it was not actually a pause, it was like an ascension, like because so much happened, and sometimes we can't see until we take the first step. So I'm excited. So I watched, I was not on the masterclass last week, couldn't make it, but I watched the replay. And so I just wanted to share, I haven't written anything yet. Well, wrote other things, but not under each of the, the line on the sand, all that. So I just wanted to just share with you the overall. And is that okay if I share the what I've got, what to write about, and then get like something to take action in the next hour or so?
Sure.
So can I share screen or just
I'll give you permission. I always struggle with this bit. Hang on a minute. Chat. Maybe I need to.
If it's too hard.
I don't know. I think I got to allow record pin. No.
You go into the name in the participants, honey.
Yeah.
And you click on her name at the side.
I've got more. I don't want to make her host though, because then it's
okay.
Look, darling, have you got the link and you can drop it to me, or if you want to just copy and paste it, put it in the chat.
It's in our notes for our session. So
say that again.
It's in our notes for
in our personal notes. Okay, I can look it up on my end then.
Cool.
From our last session?
Yes.
Okay, cool. No worries. Camilla notes. There we go. Cool. So I'm just going to scroll before I...
So that's probably there's StorySelling that there's like a...
Oh my God, we're at 16 pages.
Really?
Yeah.
16?
That's from one session. That's wild. Okay, so StorySelling. All right, here we go. Great. Okay, so desire, come to Australia, freedom by the beach, shift from healing to combine with business. Why I did that. Shift from healing to combine with business. Can you talk to me about what that means?
So it means like when I was trying to figure out my niche, right? And then we'll tie it back into like a story that I had like just below if you keep scrolling down, like about following neurotypical business, because I think niching is like a neurotypical.
Oh, I like that. I love that. I love that. Do you talk about that much?
Well, I talk about being multi-passionate and being okay being multi-passionate, like, but and being okay doing all the things, without confusing the audience and finding simplicity in that. So but never use the words. I like that. Niching down.
I really like it. I'm going to highlight it because I think that's definitely something to play with. Niching down is a neurotypical business strategy. But what if your brain is wired differently? You'd have a play with that. Okay. So following neurotypical business advice got ingrained, led to burnout, feeling not me. Charge low so I can be affordable, as in price low so I can be affordable, which isn't sustainable, which led to playing small and attracting clients who didn't fully believe in themselves. Yes. Okay. So these are line in the sands. Okay. Both of these I think is awesome. This is awesome.
That are happening now. So I like, I think in this shift that's happening right now for me, it's like, what are my lines on the sand right now? But that's where I'm stepping,
Okay, so that makes it just a little bit more of a energetically challenging piece of content to write. If you're in the thick of it now, totally doable, but it just means you just want to play it carefully so that you don't sink into any like vulnerability hangovers or anything like that of like, oh, I've shared too much. Yeah, that's the
public. I think what works for me, how you say, public accountability is the thing for me.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, because when I put it out there, I'm just like, I just follow.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. I love that. And I think that's really great for you to know about yourself as well. It's like, it's out there. I can't hide and I can't back up. So I almost gave up. The breaking point that led to a quantum leap. What's this one? Talk to me about this one here.
I don't know if I got this from, I don't know, just skip this one because I don't know if I got from, was a note from your,
sure.
So it's somewhere.
I thought I had to follow the rules. Talk to me about this.
I think I got this from the
notes from before.
I think.
Cool. So positioning stories, nervous system and somatic, being true to yourself, varied pricing, varied offers, generator, ADHD, multi-passionate, feminine, masculine, sacral energy.
More is like, I'm thinking like what I need to do next is like to position myself, create stories that position myself. I think origin will position myself. Like, of course,
Yeah.
like understand will position myself, but it's like, what do I actually do? And I think this is a scope, I'm going to talk. These are my buckets, I think, my pillars, I would say, moving forward.
Yeah. So
So
what I'm sensing here is that you're kind of potentially in a similar place to Jen, where you're mid pivot. Do you agree with that? Like you're mid pivot, but the next phase still hasn't necessarily concretely landed for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that does make it tricky, right? If we're wanting to do story selling, because we're not sure where we need to invite people into. Does that make sense?
I'm feeling inspired to actually do like an experience, whatever, masterclass or week, month experience about connecting to the sacral. Like
Cool.
I'm a sacral authority, and I think I've disconnected from my sacral. I'm connecting back.
I love that. I love that. And then how is that? If that's like an easy yes, what's that leading into? Are you doing that now because you're like, this is the next drop of intuitive wisdom and I'm not sure what's coming? Or do you have a clear picture on where you're wanting to
take
direct people?
in terms of this,
In terms of like your offers, your offer ecosystem.
yeah, how this sacral piece leads to the next.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so if this is an easy yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's about, I think my whole concept is that the mastermind would be this, or working on one is this, is building a business that is aligned with the nervous system, right? But your nervous system, like connecting with the body, like in my sessions, like
Body-led business.
yeah, interesting. You see a lot of soul led, and it's like body led, like
Body-led.
different.
Body-led. That makes so much sense to me, Camilla, especially with your background in somatics, in massage, in kinesiology, in dance. That makes a lot of sense. So you could even like, if you get a sacral ping for that, I would actually even explore like, well, what does that look like? If this is a framework, or like if my whole ecosystem is built inside of body-led business, what does that look like for my work, for my clients?
Yeah.
And then just to link it back to storytelling, then the stories you tell are the stories that highlight the body-led piece, right? What happened when I wasn't building my business led by my body, when I wasn't connected to my sacral, when I was thinking I had to play by everyone else's rules, when I wasn't anchored in my nervous system. See, that's how it positions you. And then if you've got client experiences and client testimonials, you can weave stories where you can kind of look at the angles from that lens as well.
Yeah. I love this.
I love it too. And it makes a lot of sense to me based on
body led. You hear soul led, but I think I'm more body, like I'm, open to, spirituality and all that. And I've been through that journey, but it's like it always comes back to the body for me.
Yes.
So to write about this, what is soul led? Because soul led is still out there. People know it's very hard to take action because it's not.
It's very out there, hard to take action, difficult to ground, sometimes difficult to ground.
Yeah.
Ground in the 3D reality. I think this is a great angle for you, my love. This feels really good to me. And then you've got the sacral workshop. And that leads beautifully into some sort of body-led business something. Because it's like, and I mean, obviously you're speaking here directly to generators and manifesting generators if it's about connecting to your sacral authority. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yep. Beautiful. Is that clear, love, on like how you can weave through stories and positioning through the stories? I'll just pause. This is a great example, everyone, of like, knowing the end destination, beginning with the end in mind, right? Like when we know where we're guiding people, we can reverse engineer the stories that really clearly link. But if we're uncertain, it's kind of like, where do they go, right? They're coming in, they're being activated, but then where do they go? And often what happens with that is like, we'll activate someone, they'll have a great aha moment. But what we've really done is we've primed them to invest with the next person who's going to give them the invitation, right? So it's really serving people more deeply to clearly know where that pipeline is that we're sending them so they can stay in our ecosystem. Yeah.
Thank you, Tash. I can clearly, like, clearer than it has been for a long time, like how it links, because I always wanted to do the body piece, but I'm just like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think the world had to catch up. I think.
Yeah.
I think the world
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
just like waiting, and
Yeah.
now the body piece is so much more out there. People understanding more, like the body.
Totally. But also you're like, take up the mantle as like, I'm a leader in this space as well, you know, especially with your background in somatics, in bodywork and kinesiology and nervous system attunement, like, you know, put yourself at the forefront there. Like you've got the chops to really put yourself at the forefront of that. Yeah. Awesome. Great. I'm excited to see what you do with that. Yay. Does anybody else have questions? Naomi, Matt, Rosie, Nicole? How's this all landing? Yes, Rosie.
I thought I was going to work on like landing page stuff today, but I just actually had a post drop in while we've been on this call that I've just finished. And I'd love to share it if I could do that, if there's time to do that today.
Yeah, for sure.
What would be the best way to do that?
Call at 1 for full bloom, yeah, that this is in our
true. Yeah, this is like it's just a story selling piece, and I think I've done the conversion well, but I'd love the feedback in this kind of container.
I was just clarifying. I was like, I hope you didn't realize that you knew that this is this call for this.
Yeah.
And that
No. Yeah, I'm here for story selling. Yes, all good.
Please go for it.
Go for it. But should I read it or drop it in the chat? What's the best way to do it?
Drop it in the chat for me, love.
Yeah, it's quite short, but yeah. All right, I'll drop it in right now.
Great.
I think it segues quite well, but I just want to see if it lands the way I've written it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, dropping it in now. Oh, your message is too long. Send multiple shorter messages.
Rosie,
hang on, I'll just split it in two.
Okay, there you go.
I can split it in two, yeah. Okay, here's the first bit.
Yep. Okay, cool. Dugong, I shriek. In one smooth motion, I leap from the island onto the rocking boat, frantically snatching up my mask and slamming it onto my face, not bothering with the strap. You're a beautiful rider, Rosie. Really beautiful. Diving headfirst off the other side of the boat, still grasping at my mask, I peer through the murky water. There she is, this sacred elusive creature, the rarest of gems for the ocean biologist to spot in the wild. The origin of the Mer story, that's cool. I didn't know that. The gentle grazers dubbed sea cows by the settlers, but so much more than that, inspiring myths and legends. My heart's racing in my throat as I watch her swim slowly past with her calf. I'm pinching myself. My friend is still in the boat, messing about with her mask and fins as the dugong disappears into the sea, and she as swiftly as she appears, a mirage melting away, leaving only my pumping heart and her image seared into my mind. Okay, beautiful. That's the storytelling. Now we're transitioning, right? And this, I think, works well too. There are moments in life like moments where you need to jump in head first, leaving any fear or hesitation behind as you immerse yourself fully into life, into the moments that leave your heart pumping and your blood electric. I'm well versed in these moments. Are you going to sit there waiting, wondering, hesitating as life slips you by? Are you going to wonder what could it have been as the opportunities sail by? Now is your time to take this opportunity. Say yes to fun, adventure, play, to say yes to life. Take my hand as I guide you to your full potential, into your ability to say yes to the urgent call from mother, to the call from your wild self and the wilderness around you. I would join me on the adventure of a lifetime. Okay, so the only thing that I'm like, that's gnawing at me a little bit is the final piece. I think we can probably tighten it up from like, now is your time. I would say like, let's bring it down to a couple of sentences that really encapsulate that directly invite people into the retreat, right?
Yeah.
So instead of join me on the adventure of a lifetime, yes, you can absolutely still say that, but I would like, you want to make it as really clear for people as possible, right? Why this retreat and why now? And if you can link in a few sentences, that's going to round this post out really beautifully.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have leave it with me. I'll copy this and I'll have a bit of a play with it myself before our next call at 1.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tash.
Awesome. But hey, let's get feedback from the group. How does that read? Like, is anyone there going, oh my God, that's really immersive? What is it? I want to, like, I'm sitting here being like, that sounds amazing. Well, it's a really beautifully written post.
Yeah, I agree, Tash.
Thanks.
And it really triggered some moments in my life. And I think I've been a little bit reluctant to tell too many stories. It's like I'm always talking about me.
Oh, I hear you there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely
And so, but to,
a fear.
you know, it starts out and you're sharing an experience, but then you know, you've got all of those other elements. So it doesn't look like you're just showcasing yourself all the time.
It's
So
actually,
I can see how this provides a formula for those moments. Like the one that popped into my head as I read that, Rosie, was I thought I'd always live in Redhead. I loved living in Redhead.
Redhead Beach, for anyone who's not.
I was walking home from the beach about just on 12 months ago, and I just got this little experience, this moment of awareness that I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
There's something else coming.
Yeah.
And then I saw a Facebook post for the place I'm living now in Wauchope, and I organised to go and visit. And from the moment I set foot on the property, I knew this was where I was going to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so what's the moral? Like, if you,
well, the moral is
story?
listen to the moments. It's like in Vedic meditation, we call it following the charm.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Whatever is charming, we move towards. And that's what the mind likes. The mind, thoughts are constantly, because we're looking for something else. We're not necessarily happy with where we are.
Yeah.
And so follow the charm. So that capacity, and what I guess what I'm looking for with my retreats is what I'm offering now in this stage of life is to encourage people to follow the charm. When you ask the question in the replay, what are your clients' needs and what are their issues? They don't have any. They're women of my life who are looking for adventures and experiences.
Yeah.
That just bring happiness and pleasure and fulfillment and feel like they're learning and growing and appreciating life.
I love that. There is the flip side to that, which potentially you see, potentially you don't, where, you know, if that's the desire, if that's the longing, are they in a place in their current reality where they feel like that's missing, where they want more adventure, where they're
not giving themselves permission to do it. They're not listening to those moments and following the charm.
So that's actually the problem that you're kind of, that's the reframe, right? That's the aha moment that you want them to have of like,
what am I missing out on? Like life's short, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like the call to the call to awakening the charm. It's like awakening the charm. Yeah. I'd love to see that post.
I call it
following charm.
Following the charm.
Follow the charm.
Following charm. Beautiful.
I call it following the breadcrumbs. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Nicole, you have a question, my love. Unmute yourself and ask away.
Yeah, thank you. And excuse me, mucking around with cameras and phones. And I bought my laptop and then didn't bring the headphones. But I can't see very well on the phone. So anyway, here I am. So you were talking quite a bit about pivots and things like that. So I'm currently pivoting. I mean, it's been a while, but
is she frozen? Nicole, my love, you frozen, darling?
Still doing it and that's partly why I'm telling and that from
that's okay. Maybe turn your video off. Turn your video off so I can hear you and we've got probably a better bandwidth. All I heard was I'm in the middle of a pivot and then it stopped out.
Okay. So I have been working with clients, you know, on their stories and their, imprints for years. And now I'm teaching people how to do what I do. And so I'm kind of calling out to a different demographic. And so last week I asked about, like the call out, saying, practitioners, healers, space holders, la, la, la. And then today I'm kind of feeling like, how do I, or do you have any suggestions of how to bring the sensory and how to bring metaphor into case studies?
Yeah.
Because if I'm positioning myself as the teacher, and so therefore I want to call out to people who are already working with clients. I'm not just talking about their own personal development, although of course we all know that's a big part of the journey. What about incorporating story and sensory metaphor, making it really rich with something that is a case study of like, this client of mine was working one-to-one, now she's working one-to-many.
Yeah. So when it comes to
I'm going to mute myself when I'm not speaking so that I don't,
sure thing,
because there's background.
Yeah, it's all good. I can't hear any background noise, so you don't need to mute yourself.
Oh, okay.
So basically what I would play with, I would look for the case studies that, kind of like what I said to Mary before, the case studies where people have had like really big, amazing aha moments or pivots in their business model, in their experience of working with their clients because of the work they've done with you, right? So is there a moment that you can think of off the top of your head where a client had a really big aha moment or a really big insight, or they actually shifted something in their business and it led to a big outcome, or even like a subtle outcome that made a big difference? Is there anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, it's tricky because I don't always have a lot of contact with people afterwards, but confidence in their work is a really big one, but that feels quite general.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's not just confidence, it's congruence. It's like the confidence is the first layer, the first level, right? There's actually deeper aspects, I think, that we could drill into underneath the confidence. Like what gives them the confidence? What's the deeper transformational work that happens that leads? So if confidence is the symptom, more confidence is the symptom, what's the root of that outcome for them in their business?
Well, like, the release of limiting beliefs and things like that. Like,
the release of limiting, yep.
Yeah, but again, this is talking to them as clients, not as students.
Yeah.
Like it's a nuance that I'm really struggling. Like I just always seem to default to speaking to clients, rather than speaking to students.
Because the thing is that there is a bit of a meta aspect of it, right? Like the shifts that they have through the work flow through to the shifts that they facilitate with their clients through the work. Would you agree?
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. So there's almost an element of like, you can only take your clients as deep as, or as far as you yourself have gone. That could be a really interesting angle to play with. Have you had a play with that one?
Yes and no, because it feels a little bit overdone, actually. Like if I'm completely honest, like I seem to follow a bunch of people that say that exact phrase.
Yep. Okay.
Which, I don't mean to negate what you're saying, but
no, not at all. That could potentially be because you're surrounded by people who are doing similar kind of work. Does anybody here feel like that phrase is overdone? Do they see that a lot in? I don't necessarily see that a lot from my perspective, but your RAS, reticular activating, might be quite dialed into that as well. Yeah. So are there other statements or other aspects of your work that you say a lot that you can kind of refract out and use as teaching, as linking statements that link stories to the work itself? That's where I'd be looking. I would even, Nicole, like, do you record your sessions with clients?
Yep.
Yeah. So I would even grab the transcript and actively, like, you can work the transcript through any, you know, ChatGPT or anything like that, and ask it to pull out the statements that you're saying a lot, right? The statements that you're really, whether it's conscious or unconscious, weaving through the transformational work with your clients. That could be something to explore as well, because my sense is that it's there in your unconscious. It's like it comes out unconsciously, the words that you're using with your clients. How can we then extrapolate that and refract that towards your people through your content, through your marketing? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, something that's jumping to mind is heal yourself, heal the world.
Heal yourself.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you heal yourself, then you're available as a practitioner, you know, and you're much more powerful as a practitioner.
Yeah. Because, okay, so when your women do this work with you, they're healing their own blueprint, their own birth blueprint, birth imprint, and then they're learning how to heal other people's birth imprints. Is that right?
Yes.
Or is it just learning and doing?
No, it's both. So you can't do the training without having done the workshop. So this, you know, and an intense workshop, like an 8-day residential that then leads into an 8-day training.
Yeah.
And so I don't take people for training unless they've worked with me.
Ah, right. So the heal yourself happens first, and then the 8-day heal other happens after that.
Yeah.
Okay, great, good. This is where they are at the same time, client and student, right? So there is this meta thing that's happening of like, you know, you're going to go through the experience yourself, and then you're going to embody it and take it out to your clients. You could also look at like the impact of healing birth imprints at the root, what happens personally, and then what happens when you know, how are you able to take that into the work with your clients, to work with them on deeper, more impactful, more outcome driven, more success oriented results with your clients, right? So it's kind of like you've got these two perspectives that you need to know how to articulate at the same time. Like you're doing the work on yourself, deepening your own healing at the root cause, healing your, you know, going deep within yourself so that you can take that out into the work with your clients, helping your clients heal at the root cause, helping them clear their birth imprints, helping them go deeper than they've ever gone before. It's kind of like this work. I feel this work is probably pre-verbal. Maybe that's why you're struggling with the articulation of it. It's like, how do you articulate something that's really difficult to articulate to begin with? Is that true for you?
Totally. And I mean, look, it's been difficult for the last 15 years to even articulate the depth of healing and the, you know, like to do it succinctly in a social media format has been really difficult.
Yeah. So that's where you want to really be like, what's the languaging, that even the defining metaphors that I can come up with that can help me translate these outcomes for people so that they get it. Sometimes there are no words, but that's really hard from a marketing perspective because words. So what's the power of getting
and the trick now is like so in some ways, like you say, it's like a two-pronged kind of thing, except that I'm really trying to narrow in on working with existing practitioners, because I have already been training for a few years now, and I'm really sick of the whole like, I want to do your work, but I can't afford it. I want to do your work, but. I'm done with having, you know, 2-hour calls that don't lead to, you know, like calling in the people that are not already running successful healing businesses is actually really time consuming and a bit boggy for me. And I'm really ready to go with people who are already working in their field and are looking to amplify that.
And so what's the impact of, for someone who's already working successfully in their field with established clients, established programs, what's the impact of them doing this work with their clients?
Kind of, well, the impact of them doing the work for themselves, first of all, is like making it easier. So like removing the struggle, getting out of their own way, so to speak, you know, like, and then the impact of them doing it on their clients is that they get monumental results.
Yeah.
And you know, exactly what they themselves receive of like creating more ease and flow in their life and basically stop tripping themselves up with head noise.
Yeah.
Likewise, they can bring that to their clients. And so that's what I'm looking to speak to. And I've been doing that in kind of educational posts, but I'm looking to find stories, and I realize that it's probably case studies of you know, if I'm positioning myself as the person doing the training and I'm wanting to bring people into the training, not so much to the experience, then, you know, what kind of case studies or, you know, sensory elements so that it feels really magnetic, you know, like I'm realizing that I'm not, when I speak to the training, it gets pretty heady and it's not super magnetic. And that's why I'm looking to magnetize a little more, you know?
Yeah. So this is where you want to find the language for the pre-verbal aspect of it. You know, it's the aspect of like, you know, we get so deep into the nervous system. Is it nervous system? Would you say? Would you use that word?
Can be. Yep.
Yeah. Or like the birth imprint, which is so, it's like so in the body that there's, you know, it's, and the other aspect of it as well is it's kind of like, you know, you can't see your own blind spots, right? Because they're in the blind spot. You literally can't see. And that would be playing out at a somatic level, at a nervous system level as well. It's like, how do you find the language for things that have happened in your body before you even like consciously could understand them? So what I would be doing here is, have you got clients that you've taken through that are established practitioners that would be happy to jump on an interview with you?
Yes, and I've done that, and I've got their videos as testimonials and things like that. But there's only so many times you can use the same.
So what I would do is I would take the transcript from those videos and I would feed them through ChatGPT, and I would come up with angles based off what your clients have said they've experienced. Especially the successful ones, the ones that have really done great, you know, done really great work with this work. And then you can reverse engineer based off that. Does that make sense, Nicole?
Yep.
Because they're articulating it themselves, right? So if you can grab the words and the angles and the stories, the transcript that they've spoken into, and then reverse engineer based off that, I feel like that's going to give you the framework, the language framework that you're looking for. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, the big one is taking people, you know, going from a one-to-one business to a one-to-many, because I literally am teaching them how to run a workshop.
Yeah. So there's,
you know, because a lot of our processes work better in groups than they do in one-to-one.
Sure. So, I mean, there's lots of, no worries, Rosie. There's lots of things that there's lots of stories and aspects you can speak into with regard to that, of like the impact that it's going to have on your business, the scalability, you know, you can like escape the time for money paradigm, seeing single sessions capped there. There's lots that you can speak into there with like the tangible outcome that the work actually leaves for the clients. But I feel like there's also this like unspoken aspect as well of like, you've got to find languaging you've got to find the language for the, how do I describe it? The language that your clients are already using. I think that's the best way that you can find that for sure. Because they have the words that they use to describe the work. So I would be transcribing those testimonials, and they're grabbing the common themes and the common words, the common stories, and then working with them from that perspective. It's a bit of a backwards approach to what we've spoken about, but I think because your business is quite unique, it's quite highly nuanced, that's probably the best way to go about it.
Okay, thank you. And one of the things that I also do is like, I'm in a couple of Facebook groups that are not, you know, like my own personal demographic, you know, here on East Coast Australia. You know, barefoot in the garden, but, you know, like the Alpha Femme group and stuff like that. When people are asking questions in that group, I kind of, I sort of look and take notes
Yes.
Because that's more like these are the women that are willing to drop 10K on a training.
Yeah.
And just turn up and don't, haggle with me or, that kind of thing.
I regularly direct clients to that Facebook group for market research. Yeah. But the other thing as well, Nicole, is if you see people asking questions where you know that you could put a really interesting, unique perspective, like do not underestimate the power of a really like captivating answer in a Facebook group full of 40,000 people who are really high level potential clients for you. Right? Like get really practiced at responding to people's questions with your unique viewpoint of why this is the missing link that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
The missing link. It's the missing thing. No one's talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do that, but sometimes I just get a bit overwhelmed with the like ultra woo, like.
Yeah. What's your human design?
Generator.
I think. Yeah.
I think I've only ever had one reading, and to be honest, I didn't.
Sure. So operate like
completely understand.
Creating in response is really important for you, right? So you need to have something to be responding to. If you're looking at a blank page and there's nothing to respond to, it's going to feel like pulling teeth. But the more you can have information, stories, questions, anything that you can respond to, that your sacral is really lit up and excited about, the more that creative circuit's going to flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nicole, potentially this is a one-on-one as well. Like if you wanted, I feel like there's a lot of nuance here. It's a bit beyond the scope of this particular workshop, but if you wanted to explore it further, this is something we could get really clear on in a session.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm thinking about that, but I think I need to come with like a page of ideas first that we can then go through. But yeah, I really enjoyed last session and this, even just listening to where people are at. Like I'm totally in love with story and it excites me to apply it to my business.
Beautiful. My initial thing, final thing for you is like the origin story. That's what I would be working on first, of like where, why, how did this body of work drop in? Start with that and just get really comfortable with sharing that story. Yeah. I think that's really powerful.
Thank you. If I can just take one more minute to explain, the problem with that is that the origin of the work was connected to birth. And, that's kind of a bit more narrow than what we're trying to do now. Like
the origin is connected to your birth?
No, to birth. Like, so, and it's not my body of work. So my teacher, came up with this body of work in helping women prepare for birth.
Okay, cool.
And that is wonderful. But as soon, and I'm already battling with the title of the work, Birth into Being. It means I've already sort of alienate like a whole bunch of people who see the word birth and go, right, okay, bye.
Right.
And then if I continue to use the absolute origin story, it calls in birth workers, pregnant women, preconception people, and that's gorgeous. It's a beautiful market, and it's not entirely where I'm going with training people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I still, of course, I have birth workers, midwives, doulas, everyone that comes, but I also want to expand the concept of imprints.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening by itself. I completely niched my birthintobeing.com.au website. I completely niched towards birth and pregnancy and preconception. And then all my clients from the point that I did that were non-birthy.
Okay.
So, and now my teacher is stepping back and is giving me the, I'm in the teacher role. I'm the only person teaching, and so it feels like I need to expand beyond the origin.
There's a bit of an identity upgrade happening, and
totally
potentially because you're still in the thick of it. That's why this feels really challenging, because it's like it's similar to what Jen and Camilla were talking about. Like we're still in this pivot phase.
Yeah.
Make the call, jump all the way in, both feet first, and see what happens as a result.
Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure. Great to get to know you more, love.
Thank you.
Naomi, did you have any questions or anything you want to tap in before we sign off? We were going to do some co-writing, but I think that often the coaching and the unpacking is often the most, seems to be at least, the most helpful for people. How did you go, love?
Thank you. I don't really have anything much to say, but it has been useful for my human design mechanisms to have lots to respond to. Beautiful. And I also can relate to being in that space of transition, as you know, in terms of, and it's a really interesting thing. It's worth saying, like, I've been in this pivot transition space now really for a few years, as you know, and just sharing that with the group as well. And I really do think that it's starting to get, the clarity I've been seeking is starting to bubble up. And you can't rush it as much as we're like, but I've got to pay the bills, or I've got, you know what I mean? But it's really great to be able to, like, coming to these kinds of things helps me clarify even more. And that, you know, it, like, hearing people's shares and hearing the different things that you're talking about, and it kind of just seems to prompt things within my own being that have been coming up. So I've been madly writing notes and have kind of threads to follow and go and explore, but it's great. Thank you.
My pleasure. I would encourage you to do a similar post to what I shared with Jen about, like, just informing people, bringing people up to speed. Where am I at? What's happening over here at Naomi Wild HQ? It's been a bit wild, that's for sure.
No, that was quite helpful, actually, because that's been my sticking point, is having been kind of in this space of reassessing, and I've even just, like, most of you wouldn't know, but I've just relocated as well, physically, geographically, like quite a distance. And lots of people are meeting me in the street and going, and so what are you doing now? And I'm like, so I'm really, like, it's that thing of, okay, right, let's just get really super clear on just like, even if it's not the perfect, I think I often wait for the perfect statement or for the perfect post, you know, or the perfect, I think I have to actually just go, like, run with what's here today. And eventually the thing that actually really is resonating in my being with what I want to be voicing is going to, like, it's going to come through in the practice.
Yes.
So that's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
there is a thing called the messy middle.
But I've even played with this before. I just remembered in speaking, I think, you know, years ago when I first started therapy and coaching and different things that I was doing, I actually would experiment with, when people asked me what I was doing, I would have a play with it. Like, I remember one time, even like through my arts practice, being in a gallery and meeting some artists in residence there who, like, a friend and I were there chatting with her, and she asked me what I did, what kind of art form I did. And at that time I had just babies in nappies. I was like barely doing anything. And I was like, oh, I create people and I'm working on this. And I just flipped the whole thing. And for a little while, she was like really drawn into what I was saying. And then she realized what I actually was doing, like, that I meant, oh, I actually have babies. And she could use like that. But it was good for me. It doesn't really matter. It was good for me to be playing with the words. Anyway, that's what's
keyword play with the words. Keep it light, keep it curious. I love that. That's so awesome. Well, look, ladies, I'm super excited to see all of your posts and your stories. Please send them to me, or tag me in them, or tag me in the comments. I love reading them. I will always comment and support you on there. And for those of you who you may or may not have seen, in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be opening up my beautiful Full Bloom Mistress Mind for enrollments, which is really exciting. It only opens up twice a year. So for those of you who have loved this and want some more ongoing support, that's got your name all over it. It's very similar energy to what we've done today. Alrighty, guys, take care. See you later. Bye.